And then we got that.
Bob got his moose, and then he did some other things with his friends. Yeah.
So we're never satisfied with what we have. And once we satisfy all of our objective desires, we necessarily turn to satisfying our subjective ones.
We brought up art and its role in society on the last show, and how some people who are in areas where they may be stifled, or they're on the, as you put it in Maslow's hierarchy, they're on the lower level still, just working to satisfy their basic needs. And they may, although they appreciate art, they may not be able to appreciate it in a way that somebody can appreciate it if there are presumptions or conditions that someone already understands. The person that is spending most of their time just satisfying basic needs still offers, or has the potential to offer, a great amount of objective value to society, but may not appreciate some of the subjective value that exists in society. How does taking a person from that place, maybe giving them the attention that you described, improve their ability to enhance the outcome of society?
So there's multiple parts to that question. I want to answer the first one, which deals with education. The objective value is the foundation upon which subjective values. Okay, so let me rephrase.
I think I was saying that although somebody may not have achieved the cognitive or aesthetic levels of Maslow's hierarchy, which were established later, they can still add a great amount of objective value. Like, let's say it's somebody who is a custodian, or somebody that is a garbage man who never goes to an art museum because they don't have the desire to do so. Right? They haven't achieved certain levels of like social status, if you even want to call it that. But they still provide a great amount of value to society. If you somehow were to open their minds to those levels of Maslow's hierarchy, would that somehow change that person's desires? Would they no longer want to provide the objective value that they're providing now? Would they seek something different? Would it enhance their ability to provide value to society in other ways? You know what I mean? Like, there are those who are very vital to us who don't necessarily want or need to go to the art museum. Is there a leaning in society now that's trying to create equity or equality for all, so that like everybody would want that, so that everybody would want to try to achieve the aesthetic realm, or the cognitive realm of or dimension of Maslow's hierarchy?
Yeah, you earlier mentioned the custodian and the objective value he offers to society.
Yeah,
it's true. He offers objective value. He keeps places clean. Without a clean environment, the people working in those buildings would be less efficient. They would become disgruntled. So he offers tangible goods, a tangible good or service. However, it's very easy to learn how to offer that objective value, because anyone can, so long as they are physically able, can vacuum or empty the garbage. That's straightforward. It requires no high-level education. So even though the custodians offer objective value, it's not like that objective value is particularly rare. We, as a society, are becoming more technologically advanced, and repetitive tasks are becoming automated. If we have robots to clean for us, and it's cheaper to use these robots than it is to hire a custodian, every business is going to use the robot instead of the custodian. It's the financially prudent decision. Since that's the case, we can predict that there will be a time when there will be no, like people will not be able to obtain a monotonous manual labor type of job. And there will only be more creative positions or places of employment. Those, by definition, offer purely subjective value. So that's going to require a more substantial and rigorous type of education than whatever is necessary to become a custodian, even though being a custodian is like, custodians are vital to society.
What if we just open up our definition of what a job is? Like, mothers, fathers forever have been arguably the most important role in society. What if that becomes a job where you're just paid to be a mother, a father? Is that a type of universal basic income?
No,
That's just an expansion of what we call a job.
It depends on how you define the system. If society only consists of one family unit, then the mother and the father, being a mother or a father could be a job, and they would receive payment in the form of love, I suppose. But when we colloquially use the word job, we mean with respect to society overall. And that means there are transactions between distinct or discrete entities. So it's not just money that's flowing within the family, it's money that's flowing between a stranger and another stranger. And I see no reason why a stranger would pay another stranger for that stranger taking care of his family. That sounds like a personal matter rather than a public one.
So if we can't open up, I mean, in some ways we're going to have to, but to what degree that happens, we shall see. But if people just don't have jobs, what's going to happen? Do we create a welfare state or a universal basic income? Do people have to? Are they forced to now re-educate themselves? Do we have to change the educational system so that what it means to be successful is different? I know that's a lot of questions, but where does that get your mind going?
Economics is the science of how we distribute resources in a society. In the past, there was such a deficiency of resources that the only viable system for allocating the goods was through labor and the satisfaction of desire. However, if there is a surplus, that is an overwhelming abundance of productivity, then there's no logical reason why people should have to work. Why place any condition upon receiving something that is in excess? I can't think of any.
So you would suggest that if we're creating a surplus of productivity, or there is so much objective value, there's so much abundance, and everyone's desires are satisfied in a way that you don't have to work. Go to the park, play with your kids. You don't need to be paid to be a mother and a father because you don't need to have a job. Money has become, in a way, inconsequential. It's obsolete. We have everything we need.
And understand you're describing a theoretical utopia where there's an infinite supply of everything valuable.
And I didn't mean to suggested utopia, I think I was trying to further describe what I thought you were saying.
But it is. If you, I, it's natural that a utopia would be associated with some place that has an infinite amount of everything good.
Mm-hmm.
Like how else would you define a utopia? The what we just discussed does not describe our current state of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though there are cities that experience abundance, there are other areas which do not. And even if we were to uniformly distribute everything, there would still be a deficiency, a general deficiency.
Logistically, we just wouldn't be able to make it possible.
We cannot. It's unfortunate, but as automation increases, I anticipate there being much greater supplies of all the necessities of life. So that their value, or not value, but their price becomes lower and more affordable, so more people in society can obtain those goods and services.
So if we could define a purpose of education for the individual and a purpose of education for society, right? Is the goal of education to enhance our future, or to create the probability that the future is good, stolen from Elon Musk, or is it in a way to improve the standard of living now and in the future?
My instinct is that the answer is both.
Mm-hmm.
The education system wants to teach the new generation values that society considers essential. So the importance of democracy, for example. Mm-hmm. Schools want to indoctrinate, even though it's perfectly innocuous. They want to indoctrinate students so that they believe that democracy is a positive good. And you can imagine that in other places in the world, that is not the case. They teach that democracy is either of inherently no value or even an actual evil.
Now, do you think that can be taken too far? Now, should we say democracy is the best that we have now, and there may be a time when we come up with a version of democracy that is better, or we're striving towards that better version always, and democracy is the best because it's better than these other systems?
Yeah,
is that what we're saying? Not democracy or die, you have to have this.
Mm-hmm. The reason why we teach the value of democracy in our school systems is not without foundation. Mm-hmm. We have studied history and the growth and the rises and falls of empires, and we know what are the common reasons for their collapse.
Mm-hmm. We know what makes cities sustainable too. Mm-hmm. As well. We figured out how to make cities last for a lot longer than we used to.
It's like we're not democracy is not a new idea. It has been battle tested, and so when we compare it to the other forms of government, we're justified in wanting to share this idea with our children. Of course, it's always better to persuade rather than to persecute. We want people to naturally be drawn and towards the virtue of democracy instead of having them feel like they're compelled.
Mm-hmm. And we're doing that in place of socialism,
communism, totalitarianism.
Joining a cult,
Yeah.
some extremist group.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying, yo, we've made a society, and it may not be the best, right? But this democracy thing, it's way better than some of this other stuff. Here are some of the things that still happen within democracy. Let's watch out for those.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even entirely true that we espouse democracy as the best form of government, because people are challenging it.
Mm-hmm.
There are many critics, even in America, who say that socialism, for example, is a superior regime and should be implemented instead, and that the Constitution is without merit at all. And America is a place that affords them rights, and so they're entitled to have these opinions. That's, in fact, due to our unique position of being one of the oldest and best democracies that exist. However, that's sort of tangential to our discussion about education. Let's talk about this person.